Hello and welcome, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr.MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Thanks to everyone that supports us on our PayPal and our Patreon accounts and makes us able to bring this show to you, where we try and cover not just any news coming out of Africa, but the news that points to, the great spiritual warfare that's going on, and it is manifesting physically, as well as a great awakening of our people, which is happening simultaneously. But those are definitely stories for other days. Now, Zambia has actually shocked the world, and it's funny because this hasn't really made any local African news as of yet. Let me put that in there, where it is one of the very first countries in Africa to say that they will no longer be paying their interest rates or their monthly interest payments to for private debt. And this is definitely causing ripples, because I told you Africa is amazing for copy pasting, but Zambia does become the very first country. This is absolutely unprecedented and huge, because we've seen that about 32% of Africa's debt is owed to private investors, and these same private investors have been very unopen to potentially canceling Africa's debt, etc., which has happened before, by the way. So what happened is Zambia, it is listed as one of the most poorest countries in the world, but I always say poverty is socially engineered, and they have decided to temporarily suspend interest payments to private creditors as they struggle to contain the economic fallout of the coronavirus pandemic. And Zambia happens to be one of the biggest exporters of copper, but exports have not been doing so well because the whole world shut down. And this has not only affected individual people's economies, money economies, like jobs, etc., but it's also affected national economies and the livelihoods of many of these African governments who were not creating final products from these natural resources for their own people, but instead were shipping them abroad for money. That will never work. When you're shipping your raw materials somewhere, those people manufacture it. In fact, those people actually only have factories to manufacture your raw products, and then you ship them back and consume them. You'll always be a loser in this matrix economy. So what has happened is, Zambia's leader, this is quite unprecedented. I'm even shocked. Edgar Lungu's government, they said that they had suspended, these payments for 6 months, starting from October, even though it is a freeze due to a crash crunch and not a cancellation. In the world of finance, it is being seen as a debt default. It's being, aggressively fought back. The debtors have come out and said that such a move threatens the potential of Zambia to borrow money in the future, etc., because they don't want this to be copied, copy pasted across the African country. Now, Zambian leaders were actually very conflicted on the question of whether to continue paying wealthy foreign investors, these interest rates, or take care of their own people. First of all, we also have to blame these leaders, because if they hadn't borrowed so outrageously, there was tomorrow, like nothing could ever this could ever happen, many of our African nations would not be in this poorest nations and least developed nations country. It's an abomination. It's embarrassing, with everything that we've been given, being the breadbasket and the gem basket of the world. It's just seriously embarrassing. So big up to Zambia, because it is really a huge step. And although, as I said, the Zambian president and the government must be held accountable, because over the past decade, Zambia has actually accumulated a foreign debt of more than $10 billion, and has become but now they become the first African country to stop payments on private debt, which now make up a major chunk of the loans that countries in the region have taken, because a lot of these governments, these private loans, they have higher interest rates, but they have less political strings attached, but they are costly, because some of these governments, maybe the typical foreign lenders won't want to lend to them unless they change this and they allow vaccines in and they do that and they do this. So many prefer these private lenders, but then these private lenders is. It's totally all about the money. And the 733 most indebted countries have to pay around 45 billion in interest payments in 2020 alone, and a major chunk of it will go to the private sector. But and wealthy countries which are part of the G20, the G20 is basically the group of 20 richest nations in the world. They did announce somewhere, I think I talked about it in March or April, where they talked about a debt moratorium for their poor peers. However, private creditors have actually ganged up and refused to be part of such an initiative. And so countries like Zambia are being forced to take these measures. But only two countries have had the kahunas. Argentina actually reached an agreement with its creditors to restructure its $65 billion foreign debt. But this is the first country that we're seeing, pointing to the extraordinary times that we're in, where they're actually saying, you know what, we're not going to pay. We're going to see other countries following suit. But, it just depends how much of a foreign puppet they really are. This is really interesting. And considering Edgar Lungu's kind of, sacrificial, devotion to the Chinese government, I really want to know if some of these private sector interest payments that he's now not going to be paying actually also belong to China. Let me know in the comments if you have any idea. Until next time, tuko pamoja. Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I pray you're well in all your ways and that you are living your best life. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I shared with you how Zambia is actually trying to kick out this British company that has been in Zambia taking advantage of the copper mines. They have a massive copper mining field. I think it's something like 20 or 30 square kilometers, absolutely huge. And they wanted to kick them out and replace them. Of course, this company Vedanta tried to fight it and even went to a South African law court to get the decision reversed, but it wasn't reversed. And, actually it was reversed. The South African court was like, no, you can't sell the 80% stake that the London-based company has. But then the government of Zambia was like, court for who? We're still going to do what we need to do. And that's why we're seeing a lot of game changers, especially now that we have alternatives, which may not be the best alternatives in the world right now. But, we have the alternative of Russia, the alternative of China, who also come with military might that some African countries may not have to really kick these guys out. So amazing things happening. But a couple of weeks ago, I actually missed this story. It happened in late April, and I really wanted to just bring it to your attention because it's a very significant step, because it's kind of having a domino effect, and many other things are happening. But a group of about 2,000 Zambian villagers actually sued Vedanta. I always want to call it Vendetta or Vedanta. I don't know why. Sued Vedanta and their local Zambian subsidiary, the Konkola copper miners, in London. And they said their lives had been ruined by toxic runoff from the world's second largest open cast mine. And they said, their lives had been ruined because Vedanta had actually poisoned their only source of water. And there was about a community of 40,000 Zambians who had been using this for generations, thousands and thousands of years. And they said that, the company Vedanta didn't actually take the necessary precautions to ensure that they didn't pollute the waterways. They don't give a two hoots. They don't give a sugar. Sugar's my new word, right? They don't give a sugar about it. Seriously, they don't give a sugar about our people when they get these deals. So the people also talked about how at some point this river that they all use turned bright blue, and the lake actually turned bright blue because of the sulfate and all this stuff that they had just been releasing into the water. into the waterways, and they were saying like since then the copper sulfate and acid that they'd been releasing into the waterways, and so they said since then a lot of their people had been falling sick, had been getting, had been dying unfortunately, and getting all kinds of diseases that had not been prevalent in the area before that.